Hey guys, Crypto here with a new video update on YouTube. Guys, this is the start of my return to YouTube. It's been about a year since I posted my last macro Bitcoin update on YouTube, and since then I've been sharing videos on Twitter, primarily just because it was taking me a long time to edit and upload videos on YouTube, and I've been posting somewhere on the range of 3 to 4 videos a month over the last 8 to 10 months that I haven't been on YouTube. I've been getting a lot of requests for people asking me to bring my content back to YouTube, and so this video is for two reasons. One, to announce that I'm officially coming back to YouTube. I've hired a team of editors to now edit my content and take care of the uploading process for me so that I don't have to worry about wasting time on that. And this allows me to put out content on YouTube just as easily as I was previously putting it out on Twitter. Expect a lot more content on YouTube from me once again. From now on, you should be seeing a good 3 to 4 videos a month at least on YouTube, and I'll be posting new videos, of course, but I'll also be posting some of my older videos, some of the more popular videos that I've shared on Twitter that were not shared on YouTube. I've had a lot of requests of people asking me to post content that I shared on Twitter on YouTube because they struggle to find the content, but then I'll be posting new content as well. So initially you can expect probably a lot of new videos to be uploaded here in the coming weeks, and then you'll probably taper off to just the new content once I've gotten all the old stuff uploaded. We're going to go full-fledged on YouTube again, and the goal here is to get 100,000 subscribers within the next 6 to 12 months. I'm at 45,000 right now. So if you guys do enjoy my content, please like and share whenever you get the opportunity to. I really appreciate the support, guys. With that being said, this is going to be my first macro video update on Bitcoin since nearly a year ago. I've been sharing a lot of updates on Twitter, so the original part of this video is going to be kind of a recap of things that have developed since my last video on Bitcoin 10 months ago, where I made the argument that Bitcoin would see new all-time highs before we saw 20K again. We were trading at about 25K at the time. That came to fruition. We never saw 20K. We ended up seeing new all-time highs, which we've just recently broken the last month or so before 20K was met. Get you guys up to speed with what you guys have missed if you were exclusively on YouTube. And then we'll go ahead and jump into a fresh update to talk about the macro on Bitcoin from today onwards. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, guys. Some of you may remember this chart that I shared on Twitter. This was back when Bitcoin was trading at $29,000. And I shared this post on Twitter, basically making the argument that we would likely see new all-time highs before the end of the year, and then expecting the cycle peak to occur a few months after that. I want to add one more thing here. You can go ahead and read the description that I shared here, but basically I made the argument as to when I think we'd be seeing new all-time highs and then a cycle top. I also said that the dates are based on the assumption that we break out within the next week or two. So when we do break out, we can adjust these numbers accordingly. So let's go ahead and take a look at this current chart today and see how things have developed since that tweet. All right, guys, so here is the exact same chart that I just showed you guys on Twitter. August 9th is when I shared this original tweet. That was right about here at around 29K. We'll go ahead and just mark that off. The tweet said that the timeline for moves to the upside were based on the assumption that we would break out within the next week or two. We actually came back down to retest this very key 25K level one more time before actually taking off. While we didn't really make much of a move down in price, it did mean that we took a few more weeks to break out. So we can zoom in a little bit and see that we actually ended up breaking out right here October 19th. So this was August 9th. So we had August, September, October. It took an additional 3 months to actually break out instead of just a couple of weeks. And so based on that 3-month delay, the timeline essentially got pushed back by about 3 months. Let's go ahead and see how things lined up with a 3-month delay here. In terms of price, we never went below 24.9K. And those of you who do follow me on Twitter will recall that I was extremely bullish at these levels, extremely bullish at these lows. Made the argument that as long as the 24.9K is not broken, we're likely to see a nice move to the upside, and bullish market structure remains intact. This was at a point where many were looking for a move down to 19K or even 21K. Then I made the argument that that's too soon to be looking for something like that when we haven't yet lost these lows. We held the lows, and then we saw our breakout shortly after. So let's go ahead and read what we had here. Facts: in both prior impulses, the green zones of this cycle, parabolic advance completed in less time than the prior consolidation phase, the consolidation phase being the blue zones. Parabolic advance was 6 to 8 times larger in price than the consolidation phase. Expectations then are that once the breakout is confirmed, days until end of cycle / peak should be less than the consolidation phase, currently 272 days. Cycle top / peak sometime around May 2024. This was based on the idea that we break out here, and instead we ended up consolidating for 3 more months. The breakout timing is the level at which we break out. Over here is when we broke out, and then within about 180 days we had reached our peak, 180 days being about 6 months. So if we go ahead and we now adjust adjust the timeline based on when we actually broke out. We now adjust this. Consolidation phase lasted a few months longer than expected, which means that we broke out here. So we can extend the length of the consolidation phase. We now have our breakout. We now push back the maximum length of this impulse to 341 days. The idea being that the consolidation phase is typically longer than the parabolic advance that follows. So if the consolidation phase here was 341 days, then the top should be met within 341 days based on this logic. That gives us a cycle top of October 2024. Those of you guys who've been following me on Twitter, you may have seen one of my recent posts as well that kind of reinforces the idea of the timing of this whole cycle. You can find it here, and I've pinned this to my highlights. And this is my higher time frame thesis that I shared back in June or July, talking about how I expect us to make new all-time highs before the halving and the timeline for the cycle top. I updated this post in December of 2023, and I said here, as we approach the end of the year, it feels like a good time to retweet my macro thesis below, which I still expect to play out. At the time, we were trading at 30K. Time-wise, I was expecting an earlier breakout, but we ended up consolidating longer than expected in the 25K region, which as a result has pushed the timeline back a bit. Not by much, still fully expect new all-time highs on Bitcoin in Q1 of 24. Price and validation levels, which are more concrete and not as flexible as time, were never hit as we climbed up, maintaining bullish market structure throughout our rise. In any case, it's clear that our next major leg up and the final impulsive leg of this cycle, which started in 2018 at 3K, has begun. And for those who are still in denial, it will be even more clear and undeniable in a month or two. In the coming months, I expect further continuation upwards at a much more aggressive pace than we've seen thus far as we build up to what will be a blow off top for the books to conclude this multi-year cycle. As for my full thesis below, I expect Bitcoin to break 100K by the end of this parabolic run, top sometime around mid-2024, for us to be well within the first major secular Bitcoin bear market. All right, guys, so with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of other metrics. So again, we have one idea that says that our Bitcoin top, based on the logic that I shared here, should occur sometime around October of 2024. We can look at this another way as well. We had a prior all-time high break over here, and that is when price really starts accelerating to the upside very rapidly. As you can see, we tapped prior all-time high, consolidated it for a bit, and then ripped through. And after that point where we broke out of prior all-time highs, we then saw our cycle top approximately 120 days after. So about 4 months after we broke out of the all-time highs, we saw our cycle top. We haven't yet gotten a convincing breakout. And I think, as I've shared on Twitter, I think that that'll be happening within the next month. I think I'm expecting something like this to play out. So probably by next month, we get that breakout. We follow the logic shared here and we mimic the rate of ascension that we saw in our last impulse, which it should be fairly similar. Then we could expect a top about 4 months after. So if we break out in May, that gives us May to June, June to July, July to August, August to September. So further confluence for September, October for our cycle top based on the rate of ascension after breaking prior all-time high and based on the idea that this ascension to the upside should take less time than the consolidation that preceded it. A top in 2024 in terms of price, I've previously said somewhere above 100K, somewhere below 300K, and I've already explained the logic behind that rationale, but I know that's a very big range, and that's just the way it is because it totally depends on how aggressive momentum is. But I think realistically 150K, give or take. With that being said, this is probably my new estimate based on a cycle top, based on the time of our breakout off of this level, based on the time of our breakout of the highs, and everything that I'm seeing at this point in time. Remember that those that are looking at the 4-year halving cycle narrative, their idea says that if the last cycle was from the lows at 3K to the highs here at 69K, this cycle took 3 years and some change from bottom to top. And the argument is that the new cycle started at 15K lows right here, and that this cycle should not end until October of 2025. And again, my argument is that this bull run probably ends in 2024, and by 2025, we're well on our way down in a massive correction, likes of which we haven't seen in years. I'll talk about that in another YouTube video. This video is primarily just to talk about my expectations for when I think we'll see our cycle peak now that we have our confirmed breakout, right? So now with the adjusted timeline, still expecting a top this year and still expecting us to be well in the depths of the next bear as soon as we start 2025. That's going to shake out a lot of people because, again, a lot of them are looking at this timeline where this cycle took 4 years to play out, and this next cycle then should take the same, which gives us a top in late 2025, which is what I don't expect. Now guys, there is a video that I shared on Twitter not too long ago. This video goes into a lot more depth about the macro structure. So I know in today's video, I kind of just talked about this from a timing perspective based on some fairly straightforward and simple logic presented here. But if you want to get more in-depth analysis as to why I think this timing is logical and where we are at in terms of structure on a more detailed perspective, I made a video on Twitter that I shared last month that ended up becoming the most viewed video on Twitter that I've ever released. It was an hour long, which sounds daunting, I know, and I didn't expect it to be so well received. But as you can see from the amount of engagement that it got, people loved this video. They said that it was some of the best content that I've ever put out, and I was worried that the length of the video would deter people from watching it, but we've had people that have watched this video 2 or 3 times. The views and the responses that I got on this are a testament to that. But this really goes down into the lower time frames, still on a macro perspective, but really breaks down where I think we are at from a cycle perspective. Now, I will be uploading this video on YouTube here shortly as well. So if you haven't seen it yet, it will be uploaded onto YouTube following the current video that I'm recording right now. And I highly, highly recommend watching it. Watch it on 2 times speed if you have to. I'll probably get it edited down to cut out a little bit more of the time to make it a little bit more concise. But if you feel like this explanation as to a cycle top was too simplistic and you want something a little bit more in depth, that video is the one you're going to want to watch. And it just supports this idea and this argument that we will see a cycle top this year. Let me go ahead and change this. So we have now the new consolidation phase that lasted 341 days, cycle top around October 2024. Look forward to a lot more videos and content being put out on YouTube following these videos, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this. If you did, please like and share. I will catch you guys in the next one.